Toastmasters and guests. I want to share with you tonight the story about when I played at the Masters Golf Tournament. I was 15 years old, and I got a letter from the President of the United States of America. And in that letter he said, "Mr. Shaw, we would greatly appreciate if you would play in the Masters Golf Tournament this year." Well, I wrote him back because I had not yet invented the internet or email. And I told him, "Mr. President, thank you very much for the offer, but I have never played golf in my life, and I do not even own a set of golf clubs." Well, he wrote me back and said, "This is of vital national importance. We really need you to play in this tournament." So when the President says he needs you to do something, you do it. And I said, "Yes, sir, I will play in the tournament." And I went out and bought some used golf clubs that very day, and I hit some balls. And the next day, the President picked me up, and we flew on Air Force One down to Augusta, Georgia. He let me fly most of the way, and I was doing crazy aerial acrobatics and loop-de-loops, and we had a good old time, and we got to know each other pretty well. He was a fine fellow. But we were running a little late, and we had a limousine pick us up at the airport, and they drove us up to the first tee. And we were the last group in there, and they had three gentlemen who I did not recognize who they were, but their names were Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer, and Gary Player. Well, I got up on that first tee, and I was as nervous as could be. I was standing up there, and my knees were shaking like crazy, and it caused a 6.7 earthquake on the Richter scale. Well, I hit the ball. I hit the first ball off the tee, and I hit it straight as an arrow right down the fairway. It was bouncing along, and all of a sudden, this hawk with a fake eye, he could not see very well, he came down and he grabbed the ball, and he started flying with it because he thought he had just caught himself some prey. Well, he realized about 150 yards up the way that it was a golf ball, so he dropped it, and right at that point an elephant had run out of the woods, and he was standing next to the green, and the ball fell on his trunk, rolled onto the green, and rolled right into the hole for a hole-in-one. I got a hole-in-one on my first Masters golf shot. It was also 472 yards, which is the longest hole-in-one ever. But unfortunately, you will never hear anything about this, because the FBI and the CIA have deemed that this is a super-duper top-secret event, and if anybody talks about it, they will receive 10 years in jail and a $25,000 fine. So you're going to have to trust me on everything I tell you here tonight. Well, on the second hole, I got a hole-in-one also, and then on the third hole, I hit the ball way off to the right. It was going towards the water, and I landed on this big old crocodile. This was the biggest crocodile ever known to man. He was 8 feet tall and 45 feet long. And the Guinness Book of Records acknowledge that this is the biggest crocodile, but they cannot say anything about it because they're afraid that they will go to jail for 20 years or get a $50,000 fine. Well, the ball landed right on his back, and I went down there and I said, "Excuse me, Mr. Crocodile, could you roll over just a little bit so the ball will come down and I can hit it?" And he said, "Well, Mr. Shaw, I would love to, but unfortunately, I just ate myself a hippopotamus, and I am too full to move. But I do have a twin brother, and I could call him over here, and you could stand on his back and hit the ball, and everything would be okay." And I said, "Well, I appreciate that. Could you do that?" He called over his twin brother, identical twin, everything was the same. Yes, he was 13 feet tall and 75 feet long, just like his brother. So I did not know how to get on his back because he was so tall. So fortunately, I had won the gymnastics Olympic gold the previous year for the United States of America. So I got on his tail and I asked him to flip me up, and I did a quadruple backwards somersault. I got on his back, I hit the ball, and it hit right in the hole. So I had 2 holes in one and an eagle on my first 3 holes. I was very excited about that. And the funny thing was, the President was following me around, and he'd yell out every time, he'd say, "Get in the hole!" And you the man! He's the one that started all that annoying golf stuff of people yelling in the background. Well, we got to the 9th hole, and I had a 17, which is a record. And the President was so proud of me that he stopped the proceedings, and he threw a parade for me up the 9th fairway because we had just finished 9 holes and nobody was behind us. And there were dignitaries from every country in the world except for the USSR and Cuba. I don't know why, but they weren't there. And we had a big parade, and there were majorettes, and everything was going on. And we had a fine time. Well, on the 10th hole, I got a hole-in-one, and the 11th hole, I got a hole-in-one. And then on the 12th hole, this odd thing happened. A man had robbed a bank in downtown Augusta, Georgia, and he had taken a hostage. This was not just any hostage, but this was the Miss America, and she was the most beautiful lady in the world. And he had escaped by running through the woods, and he was there on the 12th green, and he was making all kinds of vicious threats and saying nasty things, and she was crying and feeling terrible about everything. And I said, I'll never forget this. I turned to Jack Nicklaus. I said, "Jack Nicklaus, watch this." And I teed up the ball, and I hit it, and I hit him right in the head, knocked him out. The ball went in the hole for another hole-in-one. Miss America was so excited, she came up and kissed me, and we ended up getting married the next day. We've been married all this time. We're still married, happily married. And to date, we have 19 children and counting. So after all the excitement of everything that happened on the back nine, I didn't shoot quite as well. I shot a 22, which gave me a 39 total, which is a record by 20 strokes on a PGA tournament, I think. But you'll never hear about it because the FBI and the CIA have made this a top secret, a super duper top secret illegal event to talk about, or you can get fined 50 years in jail and a $250,000 fine. Well, having won the Masters, I was automatically invited to play in the US Open at Pebble Beach, where I actually did better, but I'll have to tell you about that at another time. Mr. Toastmaster.